Ooh, smells good in here, y'all. Figured you'd appreciate this little bit of redneck ingenuity here. Handle come off the crock pot. This little plastic handle. Got it right here. Little plastic thing. It just got old and busted off. So, what we're doing today, got my catfish skinners. I figured out it fits right perfect on that to lift off that lid. Yeah, it's a chunk of that Boston butt that I'm gonna grind up with this deer meat. And let me tell y'all, it smells good in here. Morning, y'all. So today we are going to process some of that deer from the last video. A lot of people enjoyed that video on the safety around, collecting roadkill meat. So I figured we'd take it a step further and we'll process out some of it. And I know I have a very early video somewhere on my channel talking about grinding meat and all that, but I figured we'd go a little more in depth with it. So, got us a big old Fred Flintstone haunch off of this deer. Big old bowl, a couple of knives, and my favorite kitchen tools. I forged this knife a long time ago, and let me tell you, it has gone through some meat. But I figured I'd just set y'all up, and we process the meat and talk about it. So, I got a cookie sheet lined with tinfoil, and I'm going to take, I've already washed this off. There's a couple little specks on here you can still get off, but I got all the leaves and sticks and dirt and stuff off, like I told y'all in the last video. Just the hot water releases this gluey type substance off here, and makes it let go pretty easy. So the way I go about my burger, because that's what it all starts out as, I just make a mess of burger, and then I divide it up depending on what I want to do with it. Get on off there. So like that right there would be a good roast right off the bat. That's also good, these pieces like this off of these big haunches, that's good jerky meat right there if you care to do such a thing. But anyway, so I make a mess of burger at first. That's just how we eat a lot of hamburger around here. My whole family enjoys it. But for the most part right here, it's just me and my nephew anymore. I had mentioned it previously in a different video, but I've assumed custody of my nephew. He lives with me. He's my boy now. I'm doing the single parent thing. And I'm very lucky that he's an outdoorsy type too, which I basically raised him, so we have a good time here, me and him. And that's something that I've had to learn about, is how to cook for just a couple of people. By the way, you can see I'm just doing these little chunks fit in the grinder. That's all we're after right now. But I was talking with him about how, we managed to get this, it ain't deer season yet here. Everybody's just kind of getting ready, and, living this kind of different lifestyle, participating in the vulture culture. There's a lot of folks getting ready to get their deer for the year. Well, this ain't all the deer for the year, hopefully. I'd like to kill one when season gets here, but if we don't, we still got quite a lot of meat. And so to me and him, I got used for years to cooking for quite a crowd. At one point, various family living in and out of this house, I was cooking for 8-10 people every night. And you get real used to cooking that way. Anybody who has a big family, y'all know how it is. And just through life changes, and some people passing away, some people moving off, some people doing this, that, and the other. I'm having to learn how to cook for 2 people. But an advantage of that is not everybody in the family appreciated game meat. My grandma thought that this right here was the god-awful grossest thing that you could put in your mouth. I believe she'd have rather seen me, break down a coyote and eat him, as opposed to, like, she didn't even want me to cook this in her kitchen. That's just how she was. But my nephew quite enjoys game meat, which works out great for me. Got some tough, sinewy pieces here. That's alright. They will grind down just the same in that grinder. I've had to learn how to start cooking for just two people. Well, we both really enjoy game meat. We both really enjoy dishes made out of burger, like burgers, chili, stuff like that. And so it makes life pretty easy. You see all I'm doing here, by the way, is just I'm finding a muscle group, from where it's cut where I was butchering it in the first place, just, taking it apart. And I'm just separating out muscle groups right now. You can see there's a separation. That's a good roast right there too. This whole big old piece. Again, good roast, good jerky meat. Just a fine way to eat, y'all. There we go. Just get him separated out. I forged this knife based upon like an Asian cleaver design. I understand why they use them that way. It works good because if you ever get to where like it doesn't want to come apart, there's like a little hatchet you can chop with this. It's heavy. So what I'll do is I'll make a mess of burger. And, all this will make a mess of burger by itself. This deer, as you can see, like most of it's just connective tissue. There's very, very little fat at all on it. So what do we do about that? You have to add something to it. For a long time, when I was doing small batch burger and sausage off of deer, I would add in bacon. And it is good that way. It ain't a bad lick at all to put bacon in it. But that gets expensive quick, because you kind of want a really good ratio of fat into it. And what I figured out over the years is, if I really want this to stretch and be good, Boston butt's just the way to go. And so when I was taking my mama home yesterday. She can't drive. And I stopped by the Piggly Wiggly on the way home, and I picked up a Boston butt to do this with today. That in the crock pot that I showed you in the beginning part of the video, that was a piece of it that I decided to cut off and put on for supper so that we could, just have an easy supper since I'm doing all this today. But as I was saying, I'm kind of rambling. I take and I make a pile of burger. I like hot breakfast sausage. I like anything spicy. I'm a big spicy food eater. And I eat stuff a lot spicier than the rest of my family does. Even the ones that enjoy spice, they don't like it like I do. And so generally what I'll do now is I'll make a big old thing of just ground meat. I'll separate out half of it, and that's just my burger. Then I'll take the other half and I'll half that again. 1/4 of it will be my hot breakfast sausage. And the other quarter I'll make into a mild breakfast sausage for the rest of the crowd. But just like breakfast sausage, you can do other stuff with it. I actually had the idea that we might do a cooking video. We might make a wild game and wild mushroom pizza. I thought that'd be pretty fun. Every so often you'll find a little like stray hair or something like that. You just pick it off, keep going. As you can see, this comes apart pretty easy if you know where the muscle groups are. And got a good knife to do it with. I got this other knife out just in case I need to get in something that this big old thing don't want to do. But this is a pretty good meat processing knife. Speaking of, again, I separate off this little roast right here, and it could be a roast. But you could absolutely take and chop this up. That could be a little steak, a little stew meat. You can do a lot of stuff with it. Again, great jerky cuts. You just get all this, connective tissue off here. That inner part, great jerky meat. I might actually take a chunk of this and save it off to the side. I made a piece of this one to make some jerky out of. But so, like I said, we're making a big old thing of ground meat, and then we're going to separate out part of it and do sausage with it as well. And I'll show you how I do that here a little bit later on. Alright, y'all. Well, step one, we've got probably, Lord, 10, 15 pounds of meat right there. This white, light-colored meat you see on top is where, like, the underneath is all of my deer meat. And this is all of my Boston butter cut up. My bowl started getting pretty full, so I did take some, and I, like, put aside a bag of stew meat, a serving of stew meat. I did take and cut a bunch of slices for jerky, which I will marinate, trim, and dry those out, make some jerky for us. This is the middle bone out of the deer leg. I make knife handles out of these. And so this will just get cleaned off. Like you see, I got most of the meat off of it. This is a lot of the meat off of this bone. And this upper bone right here, I'm going to wrap this in plastic wrap and freeze it till I'm ready for it. But what I'll do with this is I'll take and just simmer it, boil it all day. And then take it and pick all this meat. And it creates like a hash style stew meat, like a very shredded. I generally use it in like a camp stew type thing, Brunswick stew. You can use it for like a pulled pork type thing, just mixing this barbecue sauce with it after it's done. That's just using every piece, you know, and like bone in there makes kind of a bone broth type situation. But so I'll wrap this up. So you see right here, like, no telling how many meals this is going to be. There's a meal, there's some snacks, there's another 1 to 2 meals right there. And that's off of one back leg. So you see this just goes so far when you break it down this way. But so we're going to clean up in this kitchen a little bit, and then we're going to get out and break the grinder out. Alright, y'all. I normally go out to my workbench to do this, but darn if it ain't just too hot. It is 94 at the moment here, and the flies already love to come out on this mess right here. When it's good and hot like that, you get this meat heated up out there in the sun, you know, in the outdoors, they show up bad. So I busted out my old, now you see it, Climax 51 meat grinder. This is an antique, it's a family heirloom, been using it for years. I have other cutters for it. If y'all haven't seen these, this is an old-timey meat grinder. Where you can see in the light, it just feeds it in there. Feed it through the top. These spines on this drill contraption just push it right through here. And this has like sharp edges, so it cuts it. I do have a knife here though, because what you'll find is, especially with any kind of meat with any kind of sinew to it, as it starts going through here, eventually you'll get a buildup wrapped around the screw end of this wing nut thing here. Right, it comes all the way off, so you can disassemble the entire thing. You take this off, this cutter will come off, and this handle will come off. You'll find that the sinew likes to build up right here, and the easiest thing to do is just keep a knife close to you, and every so often just like run it along and cut it. And every so often you will have to take it off and clean it out, but that's just part of the process. So let me see if I can get set up to where y'all can actually see, and we're gonna get to grinding. Takes a little bit to get it started sometimes. There we go. Tighten up the bottom of it. You just feed it in as you go. That little tick 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 sound you hear, that's pieces of connective tissue getting cut. The lean meat just kind of squishes through. pieces in here. Most of this on top is the pork, but it's all going the same place. It'll get mixed up on this cookie sheet. And as you can see, this is work. But it is worth it. This table is not ideal for it, so I'm going to tighten this several times. This is how we do it. So, I'm going to get a bunch of this ground. We'll be back with you. Alright, y'all. Took a while. It ain't mixed up properly yet. You can see kind of the differences in where there's more pork down here, more venison up here, but as you can see, I mean, that's a big old mess of hamburger. Now I could just mix this all up and just have it as burger, but I'm gonna bag up. I got my box of Ziploc bags and a Sharpie over here. I'm gonna mix it up and bag about half of it, and then we'll be back and I'll show y'all how to make some sausage out of it. Alright, y'all, we got it all ground up. I've put up already in this freezer here under 7 meal portions for what we would use, and generally speaking that would also be leftovers for us as well. So, you know, makes a pile of food. I've already put up 7 meal portions of just burger. I didn't exactly do half and half like I normally do, but it is what it is. Had a paper towel on this while I was getting ready because I've got a fly in here that wants some burger too. But I have this much burger left, and so we're going to make some sausage out of it. The way I make mine, now you can buy them packets from like Bass Pro and, you know, Boss Sporting Goods store sell them. You can buy those, nothing wrong with those. They're good. That's just how I do mine. I used to make just the Foxfire recipe, and theirs is very simple. The Foxfire recipe is just going to be cayenne pepper, black pepper, salt, and sage. I add a little bit more to mine, do it a little bit different. But first things first, we do salt it. So I can kind of get you all in a position where you can see it a little better. But you know, not too much, just enough. You see, this is all seasoned to taste. I don't have a recipe. Also, should have got a box of salt instead of just this little shaker, but not that much salt. I actually have I bought this today actually because my nephew, I got a bunch of jerky that I made off this drying in the oven right now, and he wanted like pepper jerky. That's the one we normally buy. If we buy beef jerky, we buy Old Trapper peppered, and he wanted it like that. And so you don't want just like the regular really fine powdered like McCormick black pepper, which this is McCormick, but you want like really coarse ground. And they sell these grinders that you can choose how coarse ground you want your pepper. I'm actually not going to keep it on the coarsest one because you hate to get a big old thing of pepper in this. But black pepper. And again, this just tastes. I like a lot of pepper. I'm a black pepper fan. I got it set on the finest setting. It's like regular. It's slightly coarser than just like, you know, out of the box. But you could use the box stuff just fine. I just happen to have this and figured it'd be pretty nice. This is white and black pepper. It's pretty cool though. It was like $3. So we got that. Just a hit crushed red pepper. This is where you make your decision as to whether you're making regular sausage or hot sausage. I don't think I'm going to divide up and just make. I don't think I'm going to make a batch of separate hot sausage, but that's all I would do. Is I would get this, and I might go get the cayenne pepper and hit it pretty hard with the cayenne pepper, and that would be the difference in it between the regular and the hot. I put a little bit of onion powder in mine. That's not, you know, traditional. That's just something I do. It just adds a little something to it to me. Not too much. And then, of course, this is what makes sausage taste like breakfast sausage. It's going to be your sage. My grandma hated sage. Lord have mercy, she hated sage. And so anytime I made anything that involved sage, didn't put a lot in there. And it is strong. I mean, you don't want to kill it with it. But then, best tool for the job, just take your hands, get in here, start turning it over and mixing her up. I put all that seasoning that's in there. And this is another thing that you'll hear people argue about. It's like when you're making like burgers, when you like buy ground beef, making burgers, is to not over mix it. I don't think with the patty sausage in particular, it makes that big of a difference. I think it will make a difference with a hamburger patty, because then, you know, you're compacting the meat down, and it'll make your burger a little tougher, a little more mealy. When you're doing the sausage like this, unless you just specifically make patty sausage, like patty it out and you want a patty of sausage, a lot of stuff we do, we scramble the sausage anyway. And when you do that, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I don't think you can taste or feel a difference in it when you do it that way. But that's looking pretty good and mixed up. All right. And so now I got my bowl of sausage mixed up, and it smells like sausage now. You know what I mean? It's like it smells like that. From that point, I don't know. I think it might take a little more seasoning. Put a little more sage in it, and I think a little more pepper. Don't get a pepper grinder nasty. A little more. And that's what you do, is you just kind of tweak and mess with it and tinker with it and just figure out what you want to do with it. Yeah, that smells strong. That's smelling more like the kind of sausage I'm looking for. Because once again, like, yeah, I call it breakfast sausage, patty sausage. You can use a lot of stuff. Use this for a lot of stuff. You know, like Italian food. You like meatballs. This makes a great meatball. Just mix in like some breadcrumbs, eggs, Parmesan cheese with it. Makes a great like spaghetti and meatball type meatball. Or like a ragu type, you know, pasta sauce. It's great for that. Like I said, I was thinking about doing a video making like a pizza using wild game sausage and wild mushrooms. I think that'd be pretty cool. I've got several bags, and I'll show you how to store it. You just kind of get, I divide mine up pretty small. Like, you could do much bigger portions, obviously. You can measure it out by the pound, by the half pound, whatever. I don't really measure anything. I just take enough a Ziploc bag. I'm doing kind of smaller portions because I've got a lot of people asking me. I figured out I got a deer. And everybody knows that I'm the dude that does the deer sausage, whatnot. But what I'll do is I'll kind of get in this bag. It ain't as thick as one from the store, but I'll kind of like roll it out into a roll, kind of like what you get from the store. And then, you know, I have it labeled so then I can just like roll them up. It's ready for the freezer. And so I got enough here for about 4 of them, that size. A little more in that. Again, just kind of shape it out into this little roll log thing like you buy. Yeah, I already had several people figure out I've got a deer and start asking me to, you know, could they, want to trade for some? Could I have some? Could I do this, that, and the other? There's my nephew back there. I had several people already asking about that. I have one, bless their heart, ask if they could pay me for it. And just so you know, just for that point of reference, I don't know how it is everywhere, but in the state of Alabama, you are not allowed to sell game meat that has been processed in any way without a license, like a butcher's license, meat processing license. They don't like for you to do that. It's kind of weird though. Like the way the law works, say I kill a hog, and my buddy down the road likes hog, and he says, "Hey man, I'll give you $200 for that hog." If I have not cut into him, if I have just killed that hog, I can sell it to him $200. No big deal. But if he says, "Hey man, I like hog, I give you $50 for a quarter off of him," and I cut a quarter off that hog and sell it to him, I have illegally processed meat, and that is punishable by law. You know, the way some of the laws work around it is like, it's so weirdly specific. But it's important to know. Like I said, I don't know if that's everywhere, but in the state of Alabama, last I read, and I probably need to read about that again, which I'm not planning on selling none, but I like to keep up with it. You can sell a whole animal. You can't sell a piece of it. But that is 4 little rolls of sausage. So off that one deer haunch, that one critter, that 1/4 of a critter, and admittedly with Boston butt cut into it, not a ton of it. I didn't even do like half and half, like just some Boston butt cut into it. I've ended up with 7 big meal portions of leftovers of burger, 4 portions of sausage, and each one of these would make a meal as a, you know, as a protein, especially made like pasta sauce, stuff like that. 4 of those, 2 meals of stew. One of just stew meat that, like, it was just the cut up meat like I made sausage out of, but I stored a bag of it as stew meat. That piece of that back leg bone that had the meat still on it that I'll boil for the meat, and I've got a $13 bag, if you put it into terms of like beef jerky from like Walmart. I've got a $13 bag worth of jerky going in the oven right now. That's off of 1 haunch. So you don't believe you can feed your family off this? I mean, you really can. But I appreciate y'all joining me for this video. Went a little bit long, but want to explain everything, show everything. So I appreciate y'all joining me, and I'll be back with more real soon. So thank y'all.